This is In the Parks and Beyond, the podcast where we dive deep into the magical world of Disney, explore the thrills of Universal, and venture beyond the parks. Join us for insider tips, expert insights, and world-class recommendations on the best rides, shows, and hidden gems. We'll take you on culinary journeys with top food picks and share exciting adventures from destinations around the world. So, pull your lap bars down and head into the parks with us as we embark on this roller coaster we call life.
Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm Jared.
And I'm Josh, and we are joined by a very special guest today. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name is Katie Brittle. And I guess I will tell you a little bit about myself. I am a huge Halloween nerd and lover of paranormal, big travel fan, and I would say a multi-passionate entrepreneur.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah.
So Katie, I know you said you're huge into Halloween. How did it start? Why Halloween?
So it's actually a pretty funny story. I grew up in a very conservative household and was not allowed to celebrate any holidays at all. So when I was in high school, I think about 15 or 16 years old, I lived in Orlando in Celebration at the time, and I was talking to some friends, and they were like, "You have to go to Halloween Horror Nights. You have to." And I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna convince my parents to let me go. I'm not even allowed to celebrate Halloween. And so we concocted a plan for me to pretend I was babysitting at my friend's house.
That sounds like out of a movie.
Yeah.
And so I told my parents I was babysitting, which I did babysit a lot, so it wasn't like weird for me to stay out late babysitting. But this time I was staying out until like 2 a.m. for Halloween Horror Nights, and I lied to my parents, went to Halloween Horror Nights with my friends, and was immediately hooked. And that was like the first time where I saw like Halloween costumes and decorations and like everything. I was like, I love this. This is amazing.
She gets home, forgot to take her costume off.
Whoops.
I got in so much trouble, like so much trouble. I was grounded for the rest of the year.
It was worth it. It was
Totally worth it. But I will say, like, my mom, despite not being able to celebrate Halloween and everything, my mom got me into horror and like mystery and sci-fi at a very young age too. Like, I was watching Alfred Hitchcock and The Shining, and so like it's her own fault.
She planted the seed. Now, how many times have you gone since then?
So I try to go every year, at least once a year. I don't live in Florida anymore, so it makes it a little bit harder. There have definitely been some years that I've missed. So I probably, like, that was back in, I think, 2002. So I'd say I've probably missed maybe 5 or 6 years between that.
That's not bad at all, honestly.
So,
Jeez.
And what was your favorite year of Halloween Horror Nights?
I am not one of those people that can memorize like all the houses. They start blending together for me. There's some people who you can quiz them and they'll know like every single
Sure.
house and haunt, and they'll be like, "Oh my God, the icon was amazing this year." I've got too much stuff up here in my head. And it's hard for me to remember all of that, but I really enjoyed. So last year they had the 70s scare zone.
Yes.
And that one was really, really fun. There was, I'm trying to remember, a few years, it's probably like 10 years ago. There was one year where they had, I can't even remember what the house was called, but it was like a downward zigzag. And they had like the chainsaws behind like the cages and stuff, and I don't remember when that was. I don't remember the year, but it was super creepy and cool. And
The chainsaws always take me out.
I know.
Like in my mind, I know it doesn't have a chain on it, but at the same time,
Yeah,
you never know.
I know. Yeah, I no longer get scared per se. Like a lot of our friends are like, I will never go to Halloween Horror Nights. It's so scary. And I'm like, it's not really scary to me anymore. I do commend the actors when they get a jump scare in on me because that's hard to do now. And go ahead.
It's especially like when you're like back to back to back with people in the house. It's kind of
Mhm.
hard to get the jump scare.
Sure.
This year I got scared a couple of times, and it was because I was laughing at other people in my group. So
That's how it goes.
yeah. I was like, that was good. That was good.
Now
Now,
for this year, I was just about to. Now for this year, I know you say you don't really get scared too much. I know a lot of. I haven't been yet this year, so I know a lot of folks have been saying that the Insidious house was probably one of the scary houses in the recent years. Would you concur to that, or?
I thought the Insidious house was great. It wasn't to me, it didn't necessarily follow like a storytelling format like some of the other ones. It was basically you going into the further and experiencing all of the demons and entities in the further.
Sure.
And I loved the rooms. Am I allowed to talk about the rooms or no spoilers?
I'll put a spoiler warning.
Spoiler, yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
So the rooms that you go in, and there's like mannequins, life-size mannequins all over the place, and there's actors hiding within those. Those are so creepy and surreal feeling. And you don't know like which one's a human and which one's fake. So
Those are the ones that always get me too.
yeah.
That sounds like that house would get me.
Yeah. I think
have
there was a
nightmares.
house. I can't remember if this was at Hollywood or Orlando, but there was like a house that I got to preview at Midsummer Scream a couple years ago, and it was The Nun. And so you like walked into a church and they had like a bunch of nuns sitting in the pews, and it was kind of the same thing where like some of them were fake because they all had their cloaks on, but then you would walk through the pews and then like a nun would come and
No, no way.
yeah, that one was good.
The suspense, man. I haven't been to Horror Nights in a while. I know I'm very bad about it. But I used to do when I
Same
lived in
here.
New England. I did the Fright Fest all the time.
Yeah. Which
And they're not.
count.
Yeah, I mean they're not bad, but they're nowhere on the level of,
Yeah.
of Universal. I think the last time I did HHN was when I was a young little boy.
Oh wow.
I have to say it's been a long time for me too. I think, which is kind of sad because I'm huge into Halloween myself too, like paranormal stuff. And I think last time I did HHN was actually I've only done it once, one and only time, and it was in Hollywood like 10 years ago.
See,
You
I did
guys.
Orlando. I want to go to.
Now
I
that
want
we're
to go to
down.
Hollywood.
Yes. Now that I'm
I
local,
I
so-
want to do the Terror Tram so bad.
Me too.
That
Me too.
that is on the bucket list.
We'll have to do a group trip for
Of
that.
course, absolutely. Any excuse I have to get back to Universal Hollywood, I will take it.
I love
Yes.
Universal Hollywood.
It was so much fun. Now, did you try any of the food and drinks this year?
Yes, I did. I did the Russia Fear Pass because I went opening week, and I did the RIP tour, and I did Express Pass on one of those nights too. So I kind of got to experience a lot of different ticket types, and I took my time trying the food and drink because I was going for so many nights. So the ghoul juice, like everybody was raving about the ghoul juice, and to me it was just like, I don't know, a frat party type drink where they have them sitting in the containers, like the huge jugs, so they're just opening the tap and pouring the drink, and they're pretty sweet. One of my younger friends that went with us on the RIP tour, he downed a few of those and was feeling quite happy. For those of us who are like into the cocktail culture, probably wouldn't recommend that drink because it's just too sugary. But
Syrup
the
and
one that
alcohol.
yeah, syrup and alcohol. The one that I really did enjoy was the Raining Blood at the A Quiet Place booth. So, and that
I
one
did
came in
see
a
that.
cool little light bulb souvenir glass.
That one's that probably looks like the coolest one I've seen.
I was gonna say
Everyone.
that, yeah.
Um, what would you give it on a scale?
I would give that one like a 7. So
okay.
the thing with Halloween Horror Nights food is it's never consistent. It's so unfortunate because, like, okay, the Stay Puft S'more. I tried that guy, and mine was cold, and a lot of people said they were
Oh,
cold,
wow.
and I think they left them cold because that's how you keep the shape of the figure. And you can ask them to retoast it, but mine was cold and slightly deformed. But it still tasted good. But if you're not expecting it to be cold, it's kind of like a weird shock because because like s'mores are supposed to be warm, and so like that kind of threw me off a little bit. I had the what was it called, the Red Door pastry, which was supposed to be potato and onion, but it was peas and carrots.
Interesting.
Okay.
So I don't know if there was like
That's an interesting switch out.
Yeah.
So it was okay. I'd probably give that one like a 4, maybe. Like the pastry was
like,
fine.
How dare you trick me with vegetables?
I mean, everything I've read so far on the food at HHN this year is that it looks awesome, but it doesn't taste awesome.
I'd say it looks over taste.
I will. Okay, what was it called? The turkey leg, or the turkey wing. It was over by Men in Black on the bridge. That one was really good, and I was surprised. Like when I saw the picture of the turkey wing, I thought it was going to be like a small little turkey wing. It was quite big. So
is it like the normal ones, or like the normal giant one?
It wasn't a leg, but it was probably about like that big.
Oh wow!
So,
oh wow!
Yeah, like I had it as a meal for myself. So
might have to go pop in and go grab one.
Yeah. And I feel like you can't really go wrong. Like that can stay pretty consistent because that is just slathering on sauce onto meat. So
it's when they have all the extra stuff. Now, did you get the twisted tater?
No. Well, actually, okay, I didn't get it, but I went with some people who got one, and I did try it. Theirs was slightly deformed too.
It fits the theme.
All of the taters like got squashed to the bottom. So it wasn't like a photo worthy twisted tater, but it tasted good. It was very crispy. It was seasoned well. So if you can look past the non-Instagram worthiness of it, it was fine. And that was actually the first time I had a twisted tater. So
just tastes
I've
like
only
a chip.
been like recently getting into the food and drinks. I've always been a foodie, but I've only had adult money for like a few years now.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now, what we love to do on our little podcast here is be creative. If you were in charge of HHN, specifically a single house, what would you do?
I already have the answer to this.
You came prepared.
And I know this is probably a controversial answer, but I think a Fallout house would be amazing based on the Fallout game. And a lot of people don't consider Fallout to be like a horror type game.
Are you kidding me?
I highly disagree. Like,
do you know how many times I jump at a feral ghoul coming at you out of nowhere?
And I think like the theming would be so cool because you could do like that 50s style theming and then have all these monsters coming out. It would just be so fun.
I'm surprised they didn't take that, especially with the success of the show.
They might. So what I've noticed with some houses is after a show has done well, then they'll do a house. And then if they can get the IP, then they'll do it the same year. Like we've seen that with
The Last of
was
Us,
that?
I
The
think it
Last
was.
of Us,
whatever.
yeah.
Last of Us, yeah. Well, Katie, if you see it there next year, they owe you royalties. Just saying.
I would go crazy, and not. I know it would be like horror aspect, but I love Fallout, so being able to walk through that, I know that they would kill the set.
I mean, if
Oh,
you think
yeah.
about it, though, they made Ghostbusters. I wouldn't really put it in horror, so like,
Yeah.
they make it work. So,
Yep. And Ghostbusters was in my top 3 houses this year. So
I heard it was so good. I heard like really good things about it.
Especially since that was one of the houses that everyone was like, why, why are we doing Ghostbusters? But I'm glad that it was one of the top ones.
yeah, the set design for me was really good, and I had a perfect run through the first night that I went. Like they had it fully staffed with all of the actors, because sometimes you get in the houses and they're doing like a cast change, and so you might miss some of the key scares. But when I went through it, I hit every scare at the right time. It was like full cast. It was just so cool. I loved it, and the set design when you walk into the Frozen room is amazing.
That's so cool.
Are y'all going this year?
I'm trying to find a day to go. It's very hard.
Yeah.
It's a very hard time of year.
Yeah.
Like knowing my luck, I'll be going November 1st.
That's a good time to go, though.
It's true.
I mean, if you end up going, let me know, because my wife and I were expecting baby number 2 in the coming weeks, maybe even days. So,
oh my gosh!
So you want to take the new baby, right? That's what I'm hearing.
I mean, I wouldn't count it out.
Oh my gosh!
You just got to prepare the baby for its future.
I'll put her as one of the jump scares in one of the houses.
That's one way to make your wife have a baby quicker, is take her to
That's
Halloween.
what I say too. I'm like, you sure you don't want to go? Because I'm like, she might just come right out. We don't know.
Oh man,
it would be scares all around for everybody,
including me.
I think that's maybe that's a new way we should start promoting to have a baby. It's just scare it out.
Oh, that reminds me, I did not realize Halloween Horror Nights was such a hot spot for proposals. I saw
what? No way.
Yeah. I saw at least 10 engagement proposals while I was there, which is very cute and cool, but I swear every other night I was clapping for somebody. I'm like, oh,
not a place I would think would be a top place to get engaged.
Well, because it's so dark, can't take any pictures.
Chased by a chainsaw.
Say no. Say
no. Oh, that's great.
Oh man, have y'all been watching the Death Eater talk and the Plague Doctor talk?
Yes.
I think this is the first year that I've seen something like that come out of. I don't know if all of the Universal cast is we're gonna up our game, our sexy game this year. But it is working quite well.
Oh, so good.
I think I was just scrolling on TikTok and probably there was 10 videos back to back of it all. I went down the rabbit hole.
Yes.
So if you could, would you date a Plague Doctor or a Death Eater?
That's a real tough question. I think my chances are better with a Death Eater because there's no plague worrying. I'd rather be killed by a Death Eater than a Plague Doctor. By the plague, so. But as long as I keep the Death Eater happy, this should be okay.
Very true, very true.
Jerry, what would you choose?
No, jeez, man. I'll probably on the train of what Josh just said.
Y'all are just playing it safe. Come on.
Yeah, I'd rather. I don't want the plague. I'm good. I'll pass.
The Plague Doctor doesn't have the plague. He's just being proactive.
You don't know that.
That's a fair point.
It's like a 50-50 shot.
Do Josh, go take one for the team. Go find out.
All right, goodbye.
Now that Josh is gone.
Yeah.
Now, you said you did the RIP tour, correct? Or the RIP?
Yep.
How was
The
that?
RIP tour.
Did you
It was
think
good.
it was worth it?
Yeah, it was definitely worth it. I know. So I talked to a lot of people who went to Premium Scream Night, which was the first that they've done that type of night this year. And Premium Scream Night is where they like charged, I think it was $350 a ticket, and it included all of the food. It was the night before the official opening date, and everybody was saying that was better than any RIP tour they've ever done. And I was like, I wish I could have done that, because like the lines were incredibly short. And if you calculate the cost of like an RIP tour ticket, plus food and everything, the Premium Scream Night was much cheaper. So if they do that again next year, I'm going to try and do a Premium Scream Night. But the RIP tour, one of the things I really appreciated about that is the guide tells you the backstory of the houses. So if you're not like a big Halloween Horror Nights nerd like I am, and you don't listen to the podcast and everything, it's very helpful in getting the context of the houses before you enter. And so we did have some people in our group that had never been to Universal Orlando before.
Oh.
And they were on the RIP tour. Had I known that they had never been to Universal before, I might have recommended that they go to the park at least one day during the day before they do the RIP tour, because they thought that the park the tour takes you through the back lot essentially of the park. So you're seeing all of these warehouse buildings, and they were like, I don't understand why everybody likes Universal. It's so dirty and it looks like a factory, and I'm like, these are the backlot houses, like these are where they film everything, and I'm like, this is not the park.
Just
so
all the
if
workers
you
on their
haven't
break.
been before, you might want to go to Universal and see the actual park during the daytime first.
That's too funny.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, the tour is great because it gets you in front of the line. You get that context. You get to go to La Bamba's, and they give you like a little, like some food and drinks beforehand.
Cool.
And then they'll take you up to like some private bars. And we also did the Men in Black immigration tour. So our group was a little larger, so we didn't get to hit as many spots as some smaller groups. The smaller your group is, the faster you'll be able to go. But of course, the more you'll have to pay per person, because you split the cost between each person in the group. So some people were able to do like behind the scenes of the Mummy and the Men in Black immigration tour, but we were only able to do the Men in Black immigration tour.
That's still pretty cool.
It was really very cool. Yeah. Yep. And I don't know how this is. I swear the most random stuff happens to me on these things.
Sounds about
so
right.
you know, in the, like when you're looking down on the Men in Black ride into that little area where the aliens are sitting, and they have like those weird shaped chairs that are in the Men in Black movie, so you can sit in those chairs. And so I sat in one of those chairs. There was a puddle in it, like it was wet. And I sat down, and they were like, what do you think? What do you think? And I'm like, my butt's wet. I'm like, why is my butt wet? And I look up at the ceiling. There's no leak there or anything. The only thing I can think of is like maybe somebody earlier when it was raining came in and sat down and their poncho leaked all over the chair.
Either that or
so
they
bizarre.
cleaned it. That's just crazy.
It was a puddle.
Just hope that's what it was.
That's crazy. It was alien goop. That's what it was.
Yeah.
You know, it was alien goop.
So yeah, I got to walk around with a nice large wet spot on my jeans the rest of the night, but luckily it was dark, so nobody could see anything.
They're like, oh, the haunted house did get her.
Now,
yep.
I know besides the RIP tour, they have the Unmasking the Horror tour. Have you ever done that?
So this was supposed to be the year that I did that, and I ended up not doing it just because I decided to go to Disney with you, Josh, and
My fault.
Oh, excuse me, Josh.
and then I decided to tack on a couple of other Disney days, and so then I was too tired after that. But so I did. One of my friends did that. The Unmasking the Horror tour is basically where you go through the houses and everything is lights on, so you get to see the behind the scenes. They show you the Easter eggs. Each of the houses, when they're being built, they have like the house is named after a dessert, and so they'll actually put that dessert somewhere in the house. And so like strawberry shortcake might be the name of one of the houses, and inside they have an actual like faux strawberry shortcake.
That's
so
funny.
they show you
Oh, wow.
all kind of stuff. Yeah. And then there was some houses like Goblin's Feast. I don't know if the lighting wasn't working. So there's this one really, really, really tall structure of a goblin sculpture in Goblin's Feast. And like when you're going through, it's so tall that I think like the lighting doesn't hit it the right way, or they could have done better with the lighting on that one, because I went through that house like 5 times, never saw that thing.
Oh, wow.
On the Unmasking the Tour, when the lights are on, it looks so impressive and magnificent. And like I talked to other people and they were like, never saw that on the tour. And so like you see things like that you might not see during the actual haunt because the lighting is just so different. And then they give you even more context, what goes into the houses, props like behind the stories of some of the props, and they also repurpose a lot of props from other houses.
No, that's pretty.
Years,
Oh, wow.
so
That's
they'll be
cool.
like, this was in this house or this house.
See, I like that kind of stuff. Like that's why I
Yeah, me
love
too.
Hollywood.
Yeah, it's really cool.
I love doing the VIP behind the scenes tour there. It was just getting to learn about all that backstage stuff.
Yeah, me too. I love that. And I used to like build haunted houses and do like my own home haunt
wow.
and everything.
Oh,
So
that's
for
cool.
me, that kind of stuff is really, really fun. And I always like to get decorating inspiration.
Do you like just like go with your notebook and you're like,
Uh-oh.
Yeah, she's taking notes.
Now I know you always say to get the express pass. But let's say someone didn't get the express pass. What would be your tips and tricks for them to maximize their night?
Good question.
Yeah, so if you're only going one night, definitely get the express pass. But this year, after doing the Rush of Fear, which is similar to the Frequent Fear Pass, if you can get the Frequent Fear Pass, do that, because it is so much more chillaxed and you don't have to feel rushed going through. So like the Frequent Fear or the Rush of Fear, it allows you to go multiple nights. And having gone like 5 nights, I was like, the first night I went and I like just did a run through of everything. Second night was RIP tour, so that was also another run through. The rest of the time I just took my time, and that was so relaxing. I got to talk to a lot more people. I got to like hang out and with the food booths and the and like look at the menus and like hang out in the scare zones and spend more time interacting with the cast members in the scare zones. So that was really cool. Now, if you're only going one night and you're not doing express, I would either try and get the Scream early, because you can get in at like 5:30 and some of the houses open at 5:30. Technically the event doesn't open until 6:30. So if you can get in early and do the few houses that open at 5:30, you can get like 4 houses done. And especially if it's just like a couple of you, 2 to 4 people, you can
Sure.
go through and do quite a bit. If you go on a Wednesday or Thursday night, and some Sunday nights are pretty light. Wednesdays and Thursdays are the lightest night though, but like the Wednesday night that I went, it was empty and probably didn't need an express pass that night at all. So and I would start from one end, so like either start in New York or start over by Men in Black, and then just rotate around, because if you start doing this zigzag stuff, It wastes so much time. And also, they have the Nightmare Fuel show. So if you like try and do some houses while people are in those shows, then usually the waits are a little shorter too.
I was gonna say the Nightmare Fuel show looks amazing.
Yeah, they always do an excellent job. I enjoyed it this year. It was a dark circus theme, and it had like a cool little plot twist to it. So, I will say, I don't know. Maybe this is just like, sometimes I wonder, because I've been so many times, if things don't surprise me as much anymore. But I do feel like it was just a little less amped up, or a little less energy than previous years, if that makes sense.
Okay.
But it was still amazing. Like, they're incredible performers and aerialists and acrobatics. So if you've never seen it, you would have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Katie,
funny
Katie's
fact-
just in the, she's just in the crowd going, boring.
I have never liked that. I was just like, this seems a little calmer than
Right.
what they normally do.
She's got her wine in her hand, and she's like,
Yeah.
Oh man. I'm like Josh when he's doing his Brutal Bites reviews. I'm like, 1 minute of the show, I'm done.
Hey, Katie got to see my raw reaction to the friggin' corn cake nastiness that it was.
Oh, and they're bringing
She-
that. They're bringing that back. Like, did you see that? They're bringing it to, I think, like a regular menu.
That's disgusting.
No way.
I have to look it up again, but they're doing the corn and chocolate. I saw it on one of the park blogs recently.
She provided the laugh track.
Yeah.
I'm great at adding laugh tracks.
Yes. It was very appreciated. It was needed. It tied it all together.
Oh man. So are you guys going to any haunted houses for October?
I wouldn't say haunted. So I'm still hoping to get to HHN. Fingers crossed, hoping to get there. Try to sneak out to one of the nights. So now that we're down here, I'm like, we have to go, because like I follow every, like I said, I've only been once like 10 years ago, but I like to follow like every year, because I'm like, it's so awesome, like.
Yeah.
And Katie, I wish I knew you like 10 years ago and had your advice, because like 10 years ago I was so oblivious to like theme parks and stuff like that. So like my cousin and I, when we went, we just like winged it. We just went and like we had a great time. Don't get me wrong, but like we sat in line for so long for like some of the houses, and just like
Oh yeah.
could have had so much better experience. But that's why I redo now that I know. But not for me anyways. We did go to Mickey's Not So Scary a couple weeks ago, but
Oh nice.
other than that, it's just more of sitting tight for the baby. So
Yeah, I will say, you just reminded me of something else too, because a few years ago I had some friends that wanted to go, and they were like, we want to do a park day and Halloween Horror Nights, and I was like, and they were like, and I was like, I guess, because my friends, I'm going to let you do this to me. So we did it, and we did not last at Halloween Horror Nights. I think we did maybe 3 houses, and it was 9:30, and we were like, we're ready for bed, because we did a full park day before that.
sure.
And like, if you do a park day ticket with Halloween Horror Nights, I would say do all of the rides that are not open during Halloween Horror Nights, because usually they have like Rip Ride Rocket, The Mummy, Men in Black, and one other ride open. Green Gots, I think, is usually open. So like, save those for Halloween Horror Nights, because the lines on those are going to be super short. And then do all of like the relaxing shows before, and then go back to the hotel and take a nap, because you're going to be so tired. Because like Halloween Horror Nights alone, I tracked my steps for each of the nights. The lowest amount of steps that I got, and this is on one of the chill nights, it was 13,000 steps.
Wow.
So, and that's just for Halloween Horror Nights.
Wow,
the highest amount of steps that I got, I think it was like 25 or 28,000.
Jeez.
And that was one of those nights where I was just like circling, trying to get a bunch of photos and stuff. So definitely did several laps around Universal.
Picking in all the
But-
little details.
Yeah. You will get the equivalent steps and mileage in that you do. And a lot of people don't realize, like, when you go to Universal during the day, you're sitting down for the rides, you're sitting down for the shows. Sure. But at Halloween Horror Nights, you're standing in line for the house, you're walking through the house, you are standing at the tables for food, you are rarely sitting down.
That's such a good point.
And yeah, we had a few people on our RIP tour that they were like,
they were
I'm
actually
so tired.
RIP.
Yep. And I didn't think to explain that to them because I'm just so used to, like, I've been doing it for so long, I'm used to it now. But now I kind of know, like, oh, I should probably tell people it's a ton of walking.
Katie has one of those backpacks that turns into a stool. I've seen people with those in the park. It's so cool. I'm not even gonna hate on that. It's so clever.
It's very smart.
It is smart, yeah. Oh, one of the other fun things that I don't think we've talked about today, the Dead Coconut Club and City Walk.
Yes, I was actually just about to ask you all about the City Walk stuff.
I freaking loved that. They did such a good job. So even if you don't have park tickets, you can go into City Walk, and some of the restaurants are themed. The Dead Coconut Club opens up at 4 p.m. and you can bring your kids in there. It's themed like an 80s vampire lounge on the bottom floor.
That's really cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then on the top floor, it has a lot of Blumhouse vignettes. So you can like take pictures with The Purge or Megan or like Happy Death Day props and vignettes type things. But on the half hour downstairs, they have all these characters that are dressed up as like 80s pop figures, or
that's funny.
They have like really elaborate 80s costumes, and they do a dance. So every half hour, so like 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, etc. They'll come out onto the floor and dance. And when they're not dancing, they'll just like walk around and interact with you, and you can take selfies with them and all of that. But it was so cool. Like I could have hung out in there all night long.
From what I've seen, it looks amazing.
I was gonna say that. Yeah, it looks really cool.
That we can probably do because it's at 4:00.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and you can go shopping at the Universal Studios store for some Halloween merch if you want. Try to think what else was down there. So, there's a rumor. So, like, I know we have like the hurricane going on right now. There's a rumor that every time, or I don't know if you would call it a rumor. What is it? A myth, I guess, is what you would call it. People believe anytime Universal puts corn stalks in their houses, there's usually a hurricane. And this year they put corn stalks in A Quiet Place house, and now we have a hurricane. So
that's fun. Hey, that goes back to your theory, Jerry, that Disney and Universal control the weather.
I'm telling you, it's factual. I don't care what anybody says. They do. In Central Florida, they control it.
And there's also another myth that this year was totally busted, and I think it's because so many of us did rain dances. But every year for like opening night, it always poured down rain. And so this year on social media, a lot of us were doing like fake rain dances for opening night. And it's the first year I've been where it did not rain on opening night. It was amazing.
No, see, the curse has been broken.
Yeah.
People are going to go to Universal today. They're going to see the corn stalks in the trash because they had to cancel last night.
Oh
man, that's funny. Yeah, I think the scare zones though were pretty freaking fantastic this year.
They look good.
I was impressed by the one, I forget the name of it, but it's the one that when you're going from Hollywood to DreamWorks.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it was called, but that one looked really cool.
The Demon Queens one is right there, and then the swamp.
Yeah, the swamp one
of the
swamp one,
undead.
Swamp,
The Swamp of the Undead one, I feel was best between like right when it was really cool in the daytime when it was still light out, and then when it gets dark, it's kind of hard to see all of the props and everything. So like right at sunset, it looks really, really cool. The Demon Queens one is right there in that Hollywood section, and that one was my favorite. All of the characters, they get right up in your face and they interact with you, and some of them have like these little clicker sounds that they do, and so like they'll sneak up and you'll all of a sudden in your ear you'll start hearing like this.
No, thank you. I'll pass.
Some of them have other sounds which I don't even know how to describe, but yeah, those were really cool. The Demon Queens, they stand on the little float thing and they're like trying to control your mind. So the icons this year were Sinister and Surreal is all about like the mind control, and so she would be hanging out in that area, and then Sinister is all about like the physical realm and the physical pain. So she hung out in the Torture Fair, which was over by New York, and the Torture Fair is basically like if the Renaissance Festival was possessed by a bunch of crazy people. But the Torture Fair was a lot of fun, and a lot of people always ask me like if you should bring your kids to the event because it's rated for 13 and up, but there was this really cute 5-year-old kid that started interacting with like the queen and king at the Torture Fair, and the kid went up to them and he was like, I'm king, you're not king. It was super cute. And he like at first when the king came up to him, because the king's like all bloody and he's got like vampire teeth or something, but the king started interacting with them, and that's like one of the things I love about the Universal team members is they it doesn't matter the age of the kid. Like if they can kind of read the kid and tell how much scare they're willing to take. And so they do a really good job with the kids, and yeah, it's just a lot of fun. And then over in the New York section too is the tribute store.
Oh
yes, I saw that. They did
a good job with that too. I didn't like the front of the store so much. It did fit the theme of like that punk rock type theme that they were going for, but it was literally just like a shipping container that was graffitied.
They ran
out of money.
Yeah. I felt like they could have done a little better with that, but on the inside, they did a good job with like there's the subway coming out of the wall.
Oh, that's cool. I think I saw a picture of that one.
Yeah, that looked really cool. And Batilda is the monster in the tribute store, and Batilda was a character that was on the streets last year. So
that's pretty cool. I think they tie them all together, so it's like kind of flows.
Yeah.
It is now time for final thoughts. I think we'll start with Katie. Any final things you want to get off about Halloween Horror Nights or Halloween in general? Maybe your favorite horror movie or anything like that?
Favorite horror movie? I don't know. I have so many. I'll probably go back to something like The Birds, something classic. And I love Halloween. I think everybody should get into it. It's a great time of year because you don't have to prove to anybody who you are. You can be anything that you want to be. You can embrace your curiosity. A lot of people have like this thing where it's demonistic and it's literally just about having fun and dressing up and scaring people. So I think a lot of effort and creativity goes into it at Halloween Horror Nights, and I think that like being able to see that on display is really cool. So don't be afraid to go, and if you are afraid to go, just hide behind one of your friends. It'll be fine. And for those who have gone plenty of times, we love bringing people who are scared because it helps us have more fun too.
You get the comedic part of it. Jerry, we'll go to you now.
Yeah, I think honestly, Katie motivated me to do more for Halloween. Honestly, I wish I got to get to like HHN more and do more Halloween stuff because, like I said, I love Halloween, love the paranormal stuff, love dressing up aspect of it. So definitely more in the future, especially now being local to Orlando theme park. So definitely will be getting in there more as kids get older. So which would be nice. So, but for me, for horror movies, yeah, I guess you could count them horror movies. Anything honestly, Rob Zombie for me. I love his movies. They're messed up, but entertaining. But yeah, Josh, what about you?
I gotta agree with you. Katie has definitely inspired me to find time to go to HHN, especially this year. Even if it means knocking something off the schedule to do.
Even November 1st.
I'm gonna try and make it happen. As for horror movie, I don't like Katie. I also have so many favorites. I really like the classic Universal monsters though a lot.
Yes.
Like all those.
Cool.
So
yes.
I'm gonna go with Frankenstein. Probably one of my favorites.
Cool. Okay. All right.
But thank you so much for joining in.
Yes. Thank you.
You can find me on all social media platforms at Josh in the Parks. And Katie, where can we find you?
You can find me on the magical KTB on all social media.
And Jerry?
Yeah, you can find me. It's a Buzz Life on all social media too.
All right. And you can find the podcast on Instagram and TikTok at InTheParks_pod, on YouTube, In the Parks and Beyond, and Facebook, In the Parks and Beyond. So put your hands up because those lap bars are coming up.